All right, guys, in this video here, we're going to talk about new coach hiring and internships. So this is a common question that comes up when a gym starts to grow. One of the first things you're going to want to put some of your resources into once you make a little bit of cash is starting to grow your team so you can start to delegate some of the responsibilities off, some of the redundancies. It's really the only way that you're going to get yourself in that position where you can focus on just making the important decisions and having the freedom and space to think clearly. Because if you're in your business every day, there's just no possible way you're going to be able to consistently see clearly when things get tough, right? Like if you're in your business every day and you're stressing out, but you have to go coach a bunch of classes, there's no way you're going to get the mental space amongst providing a high level of service to your members to also think clearly enough to make a good decision. So, it's important that we think about this and how to build a team. And we also want to think about when we make hires, we always want to hire slow and fire fast. And so what I mean by that is like we take our time to find the right people and we make sure that the person we're bringing in is, the best candidate for the position. And then, if it's not working out with people, you don't let it drag out because there's a lot of like negativity that can come from having the wrong person on your team that's not aligned. It really can kind of like soil things for everybody else and make life a lot harder. So hire slow, fire fast is something I would say to kind of like keep in the back of your head as you're making these decisions. And a lot of people do the opposite thing, right? As a gym owner, more often than not, we do this the wrong way. And we've all done it. At least most of us have done it. I know I did it several times with all my businesses where I, worked myself into a state of pain, got overworked, finally made a hire, but I hired the most convenient person I could. I didn't make an effort to find the right person or go through a proper process. And, and then I would leave them in my business, wreaking havoc and creating issues for way too long before I finally said, you know what, this isn't working out. I got to find somebody else, and I was almost in another state of disrepair where I had to try to make a decision quickly. So you want to take your time making hires, even if it's painful. And then hopefully this process that I'm going to give you guys here is going to help you think a little clearer, to be able to make those decisions a little clearer without overthinking it. Okay. So we're going to talk about new coach internship and how to indoctrinate them properly. And we're going to start right at the top here. So, whenever you're hiring for your business, every potential hire, even if you know them personally, even if it's an existing member that is a lock for the job, you always start from the top. You always have process. You have them apply for the position just like everybody else. You have them take what we call a DISC assessment, and you have them take a Myers-Briggs personality test. Every single hire I've made in the last several years since I decided to stop hiring improperly, I always included these things. Even if I had an application from someone I thought was the perfect fit, I always still got from them a DISC profile and a Myers-Briggs personality test. And the reason why I did those things is because people in a job application will lie to you, and they also, some people are really, really good at putting on a face. And maybe they are an awesome person, but we've all had experiences in life where we hire a family member or someone we just assumed was going to be really, really good for a job because we liked them. And then when we started to have to be their boss, it all fell apart, right? What things like a DISC assessment and a Myers-Briggs personality test will tell you is it will tell you what they're really harboring, okay? It will tell you if they are, maybe to you, they're an extrovert and they seem like they would be amazing with other people. But maybe that's just because they know you. Maybe when they get in front of a large group of people to coach a class, they could completely shut down and get very irritable. And we've seen that before with coaches. They become, they're really naturally, maybe this person you thought would be a good coach turns out to be a natural introvert, and it's just not a good position for them. And that's the place you don't want to get yourself in. Okay. So there's an application process. All right. Next, they're going to move over to an interview process. This is for those that go through your application process and meet your needs, because you're going to have preset needs here. Okay. When they apply and they go through the DISC profile and the Myers-Briggs personality test, depending on the role you're hiring for, you're already going to have preset things you're looking for, right? Like there's going to be key questions you ask in your application. You're going to be looking for certain personality types or certain roles based on their DISC profile and based on their Myers-Briggs. And don't get me wrong, like this stuff is followable. Could you miss out on a potential great hire by systematically just using the Myers-Briggs personality test to qualify or eliminate people? You could, but the odds are pretty small that it's wrong. More often than not, it tends to be pretty accurate. That's based on feedback from who knows how many countless, CEOs who stand by using similar systems for hiring people. Okay. They're usually not wrong. Okay. And then you have, the people that get to that qualification process get to go through your interview process. And usually by now, hopefully the application process eliminates, say you've got 50 applications, hopefully it boils it down to like 3 people, because you have the 3 people that meet the DISC assessment requirement. They meet the Myers-Briggs personality type you're looking for, and they went through the application and had all the right answers to the questions you put on there. Okay. Then they go into the interview, and hopefully with the interview, you just only have to do a couple interviews, and you're going to go through either a phone or in-person interview, and the intent of that interview is to have them understand your vetting process and your mission. Okay. And here, this is where your intuition is going to come into play, because here you've already used data and logic to decide that they're a good fit. The interview here is just to make sure you like each other and that they understand the dynamic between you and them. Because that's the next thing that gets missed, is maybe they are a perfect fit for the personality type, but maybe the dynamic they have with you is not good. And this is what we see quite often when people try to take members and make them coaches, is they mess up here at the interview stage by usually just entirely skipping it. Right. And the goal of the interview is to essentially see, like, hey, is our dynamic cool? Can I give you constructive criticism as your boss? Can I give you deadlines and have set expectations for you? Will you step up to the plate for me if I need you to take on a role that is maybe outside the scope of what we're hiring you for? Will they say yes to all those things? If they will, then usually from there you can invite them onto your internship program. Okay. And this here, the internship program, this is not them getting the job. Okay. At no point before this orange hire thing here have they actually got a job. Here they're still interning, right? Because this isn't this type of business that we're in. If it depends on the job, of course. If they're an admin person, they probably don't really need an internship. If they are a coach or a manager, though, they're probably going to need an internship process. If they're sales, they might not need an internship process. But if they're a coach, they're going to need an intern. Okay, they're going to need to intern for a while, because a coach, and this is like, I learned this from the martial arts world. In the martial arts, like, you don't get to earn the next belt unless you have the ability to teach what you learned at the level before. And this is one place in fitness where they don't seem to follow that. Like, people in fitness tend to make hires based off a lot of things that have nothing to do with their ability to actually communicate what they've learned. So, and being able to communicate what you've learned is more than just, can you teach a squat? Can you teach this? Can you teach that? It actually has a lot more to do with, like, can they connect with people? Do they have good energy? If they sense a class is kind of falling flat, if the atmosphere is flat, can they raise the environment and the atmosphere of that class? Can they create culture? You know what I mean? Like, these things are things that, like, hopefully the application and interview process helps them already qualify for. But them being able to actually do it on the job in the internship phase is important. And this is simply the second stage of your vetting process. They don't get paid for this. They go through an X amount of internship, and they go through different levels of internship. And I'm going to give you in this video, guys, after we go through this overview, I'm going to break all this stuff down for you. And below this video, you're going to find all the materials to do this stuff with. Okay. And then last is hired. Okay. Once they complete their internship, say they've gone through the application with flying colors, they're the right personality type for the job. Their DISC assessment checks out well as someone that can do the things you need done. And then they pass the interview with flying colors, and you want them on your team, and you know that they're going to be a good soldier. And then they intern and they go through the internship, and by the end of the internship, they're able to run classes with no hand holding, and they're just, really holding their own. Then, and only then, will they officially be welcomed aboard, made an offer and welcome aboard to your business. Okay. All hires at this stage, like, you're not done with the hiring process. Like, you're going to have them fill out employment paperwork as well as a very clear employment agreement. Okay. Like, everybody that comes to work for your business, there should be a document that says, this is my expectation of you. This is your role. We call it a 4 hours document. And a 4 hours document has your role, requirements, results, and there's one more. We'll get to it here. I always forget one of the 4. But let's go back here to apply real quick, and let's talk about that. Your application is something that, and what we did is we built ours in Typeform for our gym, and I still have it. So I'm going to show it to you guys. So I'm going to go to Typeform here. And Typeform's free. I have a paid account, but you can get it for free. So go to Typeform, sign into it. And Typeforms work great for applications. They work really, really well. And then you'll be able to see here, these are some of our forms from when we ran our gym. And I'm going to find my employment application here once it loads. Let's see. coach application form. This might be, right here. This is one of our most recent ones. You can see we got 35 responses on this when we ran it. And this is a place you can send people, and it has everything here. And what I'll do is I'll put the link to this application below this video. That way you can go and copy and paste the information from it and recreate the same type form, okay? This is what it looks like live to the people on the other side. It's got a landing page that says now hiring full-time and part-time coaches, calling all purpose-driven CFL1 coaches who are looking to make an impact, gain recognition, and be a pillar of a thriving community, blah, 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 blah. And it's a very lengthy page. Like, don't skip on this. Like, you might think this is a lot, but I'm being upfront on purpose. The goal of your application is not to get more people to fill it out. It's actually to get less people to fill it out. You want to make sure that whoever fills this thing out has already kind of been put through the ringer. So we put on here already the 4 R's. So here's our 4 R's, our roles. And if I start at the top, and you should already have this defined, like what are the roles, requirements, results. So requirements: Spark is seeking an amazing personality with both group class and personal training experience, must be high energy, must not be selfish or self-centered, must be a team player, blah, 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 blah. Then we go down to roles: assist in retention of existing clients through amazing customer service, aiding in the response of text, gym communications, generating new business and leads, promotion of all internal offers. So they're going to help us pretty much market the gym internally. Responsibilities: this is like what they're going to be doing day to day, the actual nuts and bolts of their job. Beginning of shifts, setting up workouts, always have workouts displayed. During sessions, what's required. Between sessions, end of shift. And there's the pay structure at the bottom. And we keep this pretty vague. I usually don't try to be specific on the pay structure. I put a huge range because if I get someone who's a noob, maybe they have all the right intangibles, but they just don't have experience. They got to work their way up, and they're going to start lower on the pay scale. If I find someone who's got a ton of experience and is just an absolute professional and has a ton of proven track record, I'm going to pay them more. They don't have to climb their way up the ladder, right? I'm usually pretty vague on this. This is something that we discuss in person. I'm not going to spill all the beans in the application, okay? I just put a range, and if they're okay with that range, they'll continue. After that, they click apply now, and then they start answering the questions. And in here are going to be all, basic information, and they can scroll down this thing. This is why I love type form. It's one question at a time. How'd you hear about us? What is your desired pay? So you can know up front. What is your available start date? And then, as we go through this, what days are you available? And they can check all these off. Okay. And then what times? And then I think somewhere in here we start getting into, right here, they start ranking themselves. How would you rate yourself on the ability to, next here, follow direction and be a team player? Okay. Stay positive under pressure. Proactively reach out and help others. Come up with creative solutions. Get things done quickly. Manage a classroom of people effectively. And it's this is a pretty lengthy thing. We're gonna hopefully disqualify anybody who's not serious about this. Hopefully, what we have happen here is people quit in the middle of it because they don't fit the bill and they won't waste your time, because you don't want to make bad hires. So that's the goal here. Okay, it's a process of elimination, because they make it through the application. The goal is you only have maybe a handful of people to really consider interviewing. Okay. And then for the Myers-Briggs personality test, what you'll want to have, usually what we'll do is we'll have them send us their application first. And if we like the application, then I'll message them and say, hey, I want you to fill out these 2 things and send them to me. And what this is usually their first step at their ability to follow instruction. So they'll fill this out. I'll email them and say, hey, Tom, your application looks great. You're in the running for the position. We might want to meet, but before we do, I want you to fill out this. I want you to go to these 2 links below and send me back the PDFs from both of these tests that you take, right? And if they can't figure out how to upload a PDF or download the PDF off of the test and upload it to an email to send back to you, then they're probably not going to be a good fit for your business in 2020. Okay. So where they get those from is I'll send them an email, sending them here, tonyrobbins.com/disc. And I'll put the link for this below. And this is an assessment right here they can take that will give them like their DISC assessment results. And what this DISC is like it's a personality type indicator, more based around like your personal patterns and like work. It really works well for work. Gives us an idea of like of their style. And it's usually one of 4 types. DISC is DISC. The D is dominant, the I is inspirational, the S is stable, and the C is cautious. And everybody's a combination of these things, but most people lead with one or two of them. So we want to find the personality type that fits best for the role, and it does depend on the role, which personality type. You would have a different personality type for an admin person than you would from a coach. If you hire the wrong type for the wrong role, you end up with a lot of trouble and a lot of issues in the future. The other one you want to have them fill out is 16 personalities, so 16personalities.com. And this is there's 16 different combinations of 4 different letters. They're either introverted or extroverted for the first letter. They're either an intuitive or a sensor for the second letter. They're either a thinker or a feeler for the third letter, or they're either a judger or perceiver in the fourth letter. And the 16 personalities actually has this 5th letter, which I don't know too much about. I don't usually use that, but they give it to you for what it's worth. And there's certain personality types that do better in certain roles again. So the combination of the D or the DISC and the Myers-Briggs really helps give you a clear idea of who this person is, and if maybe they're not being fully transparent with who they are. Because people always want to do exciting things, and you will get people who are introverts, for example, that might really want, because they're excited about it, to do an extroverted job. And they're going to do it for a little while, but then they're eventually going to hate it when it's not fun anymore. And you're going to have a lot of trouble coaching that person or getting that person to do it before too long, because they just simply, it's against their like internal, I guess, like compass, if you will. So, use these things, essentially put them through the application, the ones you like, send them links for this and give them clear instructions on what to do next. Hey, I want you to take these results. It's going to take you an hour, and I want you to download the results and upload that PDF in an email back to me. When you send that back to me, I'll take a look at it. If everything looks like it checks out, I'll be sending you a link to my scheduler to book your interview with me. That's what you send them back. Okay. Now, you go back in here. Here we go. So that's kind of where we're at with that as far as like the application process, right? And like as far as personality types right here, like here's a little breakdown, and this printout will be below the video here. It will include like some key role personality types. Now, it doesn't have to be exactly this personality type, but you want to get as close to this as possible. So a manager, at least for a fitness studio, is going to want to very likely be extroverted, because they're going to need to be able to step into a number of roles that include extroversion. They're going to need to be able to coach people and be extroverted and talk to people, have discussion, be a warm personality. They can't be the type of person that, comes into your gym, super closed off and doesn't want to talk to anybody. They got to be extroverted naturally. That needs to be their default state. It needs to be how you'll know if someone is naturally extroverted or introverted. Well, the Myers-Briggs test will tell you. But another way to tell is like when they get stressed, what do they do? If they get stressed and they shut down, they're usually an introvert. If they get stressed and they start talking a lot, they're usually an extrovert. That's usually a good way to tell, because they're going to go to whatever their default state is, because they're not really conscious of their behavior when they're stressed. Okay. You're going to want, for a manager, also an observer. Okay. Someone who's an intuitive. They can see things, and then they can see a pattern, they can recognize it, and they can make adjustments. Okay. You're going to want them to be a thinker. They're going to be someone that can like use their brain on the fly. And those are important things. So the best like MTBI or Myers-Briggs personality type, if you can find one, is an ESTJ for a manager role. And if for the DISC profile type, you want a high D or a high I personality type, that's a D is for dominant, and I is for inspirational. So you either want like a dominant personality type as a manager, someone that can take command and like speak clearly, and it doesn't like back down from situations, and can like handle business without having to ask you to hold their hand. Or you want an I, someone that can really like rally the troops. Okay. That's what you'd want, one of those two personality types for the DISC. And you want as close as you can get to this ESTJ personality type. Maybe you find an ESTP or an ENTP or a ESF. Yeah, you just want to be as close as possible as you can. Now, coaches, this is an empathetic energizer. You're going to want someone very extroverted as their default state, because they're going to come in, drunk and hungover on a Saturday morning. And if they're hungover and stressed out, like, are they going to naturally come out of their shell and be extroverted, or are they going to shut down? You don't want the person that's going to shut down in that situation because they're having a bad day. You want that person, hopefully, to be someone that, like, even on a rough day, they can lead a good class and bring the energy. Okay. So an extroverted person, someone who's sensing, they sense how people are feeling. They're a feeler. There's someone that can like tell if they're struggling. They'll walk over and say, "How you doing today? Let me help you with this." They're not going to like just, they're not pure logic. Even though logic is important in a class setting, I would say, with communities, the coach being a sensor or a feeler, I think is important. And they're also a perceiver. They're someone that can receive information very, very well. They can they can see from the group what's going on, and they can maybe do something to change that. They can change the music. They can turn the music up. They can turn the music down. They can yell louder. They can go, give high fives. They can do things to rally the troops and raise the morale of the group. Okay, the best personality type for this from the Myers-Briggs for the 16 personalities is an ESFP. If you can find someone close to that, you're going to be pretty happy. They're going to be able to like run a class and do a phenomenal job without really needing you to correct them or tell them to do a better job ever. The best DISC personality type is a high I. Okay, someone that is an I would be like an influencer type. So when they take the DISC, if they're a high I, that's usually a good indicator. And if they're Myers-Briggs 16 personalities, if they're an ESFP or close, then you probably got a winner. And then definitely like what's most important with the coach is they got to be extroverted. I don't think most introverts do well as coaches. They can act like it, but in large stretches, if you need them to coach full time, then they're coaching 20, 30 classes a week for you, an introvert's going to really struggle. They can do well with a couple classes a week and give an amazing experience. Introverts do really, really well in small bursts being extroverted because they have some energy they've been withholding, and they can give it to you better than an extrovert can in small doses because they're going to lead with logic and they're going to really like just go deep with you. But if they're going to be doing it in volume, you really want an extrovert naturally. An admin person, this would be like a front desk person. This is an organizer, someone that can get stuff done and can put their head down and work. This person, you probably want an introverted personality type. You don't want someone that's just going to be talking the whole time, that when they get stressed, they just want to talk. You want someone when they get stressed that puts their head down, stays quiet, and gets to work. And that would be more of an introvert. Like they naturally find therapy and like being quiet and focusing on what's in front of them, right? They're not going to like go and talk to 20 people when they're stressed. You also want like them to be fairly intuitive, like they kind of have an idea of how things go together. They can see all the different systems in your gym. They can see all the different tools you're using, and they can kind of figure out how they all work together. You know what I mean? Like if they're not an intuitive thinker, they're going to be asking you way too many questions. If they're more of like a feeler and like just everything's about feeling and everything's about what they're sensing, they're not going to be the best admin person because they're just going to like drive you crazy asking about like, how, bringing up like their feelings and things like that. You really want someone who's more logic based. So you want like a introverted intuitive thinker with a, kind of a judging view of the world, if you will. So someone that can kind of like see like, oh, this is broken, we need to fix it. That's not, they look at things a little more critically. Okay. And the best MTBI Myers-Briggs personality type for this is an INTJ. So an introverted, intuitive thinker that is judging, and or the DISC, they're going to want to be a high S. So high S is for like stability. They seek stability. So if you hire them and you're not this personality type, which most people aren't, they're going to come in and just fix it all for you because they're like, yeah, I can't work like this. They're going to go and do it for you without you even saying anything. And that's what you want for an admin person. You wouldn't want that for a manager. You don't want a manager that's an admin, this personality type, because they're not going to probably be the best leader. They're going to be kind of in a situation where they got to lead. They're going to be kind of snarky and probably not communicate the best. And then salesperson here is a persuader. Definitely needs to be extroverted, needs to love to talk. When they get stressed, they like to talk more. They're sensing, which means they can get an idea of when they say something to somebody. They can sense body language. They can see in body language or the way someone's tone changes. They can sense that stuff really, really, really well and make adjustments to the pattern upon which they're going down. And then they're a thinker for sure. They're someone that has like a pretty good skill set in regards to like, if someone says this, I say this. Like they have a logic in their mind of like, okay, if I get this objection, this is how I overcome it. Like they already have like an if-then logic in their brain, and they are very perceiving. They're not as much of a judger. They're more of a perceiver. So that personality type would be an ESTP. I'm an ENTP myself, so I'm kind of pretty close to that myself. And, sales for me has always kind of come natural. It doesn't really feel like the type of sales that someone who's not a salesperson would do. It's more conversational and more consultative. And for most people who buy stuff from me, they don't even really feel like they're being sold. They more feel like they're like already a client. You know what I mean? This person would also be like a high I personality type, very, exciting and brings a lot of energy, kind of an influencer type, if you will. Okay. So those are your key role personality types. And all this is going to be like provided down below this video. Now, A couple other documents that'll be included to kind of help you with your hiring process is, let me just pull it up here real quick. Let's see. Here we go. We have an employee trainer contract below that you can print up, and this is like your membership, your employee agreement. So don't necessarily just copy verbatim what I put in here. Just follow the framework. You can see how I laid out like the responsibilities and requirements of the role, and I'm very clear. And when I give this to someone to fill out and they're starting at my gym, I'm very, I like read this with them. Like we talk about it out loud. I don't just like hand this to them and they go fill it out and bring it back and don't read it. Like they're going to read this very, very clearly and understand like every little bullet point before I accept it back from them. It's kind of the last step before they're officially an employee, is they fill this out along with any like payroll paperwork that you have. And they understand like what they're getting and what's included. There's a non-compete agreement in here. You guys are more than welcome to borrow this if you want to use it, but obviously check with your state laws in regards to what you can ask of people and what you can demand in employment agreements, and also make sure you make this your own. Be thorough about it and spend some time on it. Okay. Additionally, what will be below here is an onboarding worksheet. So this is a sheet that you can print and give to your coach that's going through your internship process. So if they're actually interning with you, what we would do is we would do 60 hours of shadowing and supervised coaching. And we had them shadow a coach, and they had to get it signed off on by the coach that was leading that day. Because the first, and you can see how we kind of shaded out the areas. So the first 8 classes, they're just going to observe here. Okay. And then the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 classes after that, they're going to observe and present the workout to the class. And then after that, they're going to do the next several classes. They're going to present the workout, or observe, present, lead the warm-up, and demo the movement of the class. And the coach will take over from that. So they're going to do all that. And then classes 22 to 30, they're doing the whole thing. So they're doing the whole thing, and kind of the main coach is stepping back. And they're not being paid for these. Remember, your internship is an unpaid internship, and it does not guarantee them a job. And you got to make sure you're very clear about this, because we've had people go through our internship process that they were great applicants, they interviewed well, but then when we put them in the job to intern and we started observing them, we realized that like they were not ready for it. That maybe one day they would be great coaches, but they were just not ready for it. So you want to make sure you're clear up front that like they aren't guaranteed anything, that they're just going through this for now. And then we would also have them, if we had like special programs, like at our gym, we had a special program called Ignite. That was a boot camp. And then we made them coach a certain number of Ignite classes as part of it. And then here's a whole additional page. And we also made them go through 10 personal training sessions, shadowing our personal trainer in our gym. So you want to make sure you build this for your gym. And this person, like they get this sheet of paper and it's their job to hold on to it. And at the end, turn it in, and it needs to be signed off on by a coach, another coach, or yourself every single session. So this should be full of initials by the end of it. They should have the date, the hour, the class size, the name of the coach on duty, and the coach signature in here. So that will get you everything you guys need to run the internship program. And of course, like, this is an overview of how to do this. And like every gym's different. Every hire is going to be different. There's no like perfect way to do in like a training to just go out there and find the perfect hire. Like there's going to be questions. You're going to learn the hard way sometimes. What I recommend doing is, as you come across additional questions and like what if scenarios, jump on the coaching calls with us, the live coaching calls, and ask the group, collectively with all the gyms in our program, there's been like thousands of hires made. I myself have made hundreds of hires in my businesses. And, not every hiring situation is the same, nor does like every process we use apply the same to your business. So jump in. I've run like 7 different businesses, and all of them hired people slightly different ways. So jump in and like feel free to pick my brain or the brain of any of our coaches in our program. Use the Facebook group, use the Slack channel, use the live coaching calls. Ideally, would be the best place, the live coaching calls, to ask about these things. If you want to run a potential hire by somebody and get some advice, have them fill out the application, have them get their DISC profile, get their 16 personalities thing, and then show up on one of the calls and be like, hey guys, what do you think about this guy? Here's the information. And hopefully what you'll get out of that is some objective response that'll let you know if it's a good idea or not. All right, guys. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully that gives you some good ground to go and make good decisions with on the hiring. Go ahead, if you're done with this, check mark complete below, and feel free to come back to this module whenever you need it to kind of rehash and re-up on the basics here, and also use all the documents that are below this video.